Hey, welcome back to my channel. It's Christine Grace. Today is another reaction video. Guys, please like the video on your way in and let's get straight into it.
What were some of the things you were told about men while growing up?
Don't trust them. Yeah, I agree with that one.
What is the most surprising thing you've learned about men from your experiences?
You can't trust them. Facts.
Do you prefer a man who is a gentleman or a bad boy?
Bad boy. Bad boy.
It's almost as if the two answers there correlate. It's almost as if picking bad boys is going to lead to you not trusting men. Funny that.
Is it fair to say women lust after bad boys but want to settle down with nice guys?
Yeah.
If you happen to be looking for a quality man, where would you expect to find one?
Quality man? Church? Yes.
When was the last time you went to church?
That's so good. That's so funny. These women are not living inside reality. They're living inside a story that they were told when they were young that says that men cannot be trusted. And they wholeheartedly believe this story to be true, which is why it's so...
It's actually kind of devastating because it's like you've obviously had no positive male influence in your life to be able to say that like all men can be grouped into this group of don't trust them, like men are bad.
Funny when his Socratic questioning starts pointing to reality. Do you know where the quality men are? Yes, so why don't you go there? You think men can't be trusted, but then why do you go for the bad boys instead of the gentlemen? The women laugh because their bubble burst. The ridiculousness of their story was exposed when reality asserted itself. I'm going to share a depressing truth that you may or may not have figured out yet, which is that very few people live inside reality. And in this video, I'm going to explain the 4 things that block women from seeing reality. These are stories, emotions, ideologies, and faith. Let's start with stories. Imagine you see your life not as descriptions in a scientific textbook, but instead an epic narrative, a tale of heroism. You are the main character of this story, and you have your own unique suffering. You achieve, you struggle. It's like you're playing out.
So many people live life like this. There was a couple of videos I reacted to recently where women use that phrase, what is it? Main character energy.
Out some incredible drama. You're living in a story. If that's the way that you see your life, that's going to color your perception of existence. That's going to block you from actually seeing reality. Your awareness is going to be limited to those facts that support your story. You're only going to assign significance to that data that you come across that strengthens your perception of this story. So what kind of a story am I talking about? Well, let's choose a very popular one that women are telling themselves these days, which is that they are victims. When a woman has a victim narrative, she believes that everything is against her and everyone is discriminating against her. And because that's the narrative she's living in, she recreates that story in all kinds of different situations. As she lives her life, she doesn't see reality as it is. She's only seeing those parts of reality that reinforce her story. I heard Konstantin Christen reference this fascinating study where they painted facial scars using like...
Yes, I was speaking about this on a live a few weeks ago. It's so interesting. I know exactly what he's referring to. They literally put a scar on women's face and they told women that they were going to like touch it up before they left. But they took it off. They completely took it off and the women all came back and reported that they were being discriminated against because of the scar. The scar wasn't there.
Fancy movie makeup on the faces of women just before a job interview. And so women thought that they're going to have this interview and they've got this, deformity on their face. And at the last minute, they get the makeup artist to just like touch it up. Whereas actually what they did was completely wiped it off. So their face looks normal. But the women believe that they're going in there with this big facial scar. Afterwards, when they're reporting and what the interview was like, they're all like, I was discriminated against. He kept looking at the scar. He kept making comments about it. Of course, it's all in their head. There was no scar. But you see, the facts of reality get twisted in order to feed this story. When you're lost in victimhood, you only ever interpret facts in such a way that's going to support your narrative. We saw plenty of examples of that in my course. So what happens when a woman has been living in a story over a long period of time is that she sinks further and further into delusion. That is the consequence. When you confront a woman like this with reality, her reaction is always priceless. Let's take a look.
What is your ideal age for your man?
30.
What race is your ideal man?
Black.
Black. Minimum height?
6'3".
Minimum income?
90,000.
90,000? The likelihood of you finding your man is 0.036%.
Her face. To me, that's funny because it demonstrates the distance between a woman's story and reality. Her story is that she's entitled to a man who has this and this and this and this. Her story says that's what she deserves. That's what's coming to her. There's no need to settle or compromise, except that the reality of her finding a man like that is 0.03% or whatever he said. Modern women have an abundance of these stories that are not grounded in reality. Men can't be trusted. Women are morally superior to men. I deserve a top 1%.
Women are more caring than men. Yeah, it's all complete delusion. And don't get it twisted, like, the majority of women are much more like this than the majority of men. There are completely deluded men too that live in complete victimhood, and it's scary.
That man, whatever the story, it's a massive red flag, because if she's running a negative story like men can't be trusted or men are going to cheat on me,
It's almost as if your thoughts generate your reality. And if you think that that's going to be the case, chances are, because you're living in a complete false representation of reality, you're going to go about creating your reality in such a way that it reflects your inner ideology, which is exactly what he's saying. And then you're going to get the results. And it's kind of funny because then they'll get the same results and then they'll play the whole victim and, oh, I'm hurt. And why does everything go the same for me? Oh, it's just the same thing over and over and over again. This is what victims do. They do that. But actually inside, part of them, probably a suppressed part of them, we're going, yes, it's me, guys. We're going into some kind of psychology tangent, but something inside of them unconsciously loves it because they are fulfilling the prophecy that they have created. And it's addictive. And that's why it's often that these people who create these realities for themselves and have this perception that they're hard done by and that no one else could possibly have it worse than them, that's why things continue to go wrong for them, because they create it for themselves and they don't even realize they're doing it. They don't even realize that they're the ones who are in control. They're the ones who are doing it, and that part of them secretly loves it. That's why these people are dangerous. You should probably stay well away from them because they are unstable.
You're totally screwed because you can't use reality to rationalize with her. If she truly believes her story.
To communicate with any human being, you need to start with a mental awareness and level of stability that you can both agree on what reality is. If you can't get someone to be able to see reality for what it actually is, even after they are presented with evidence, run.
Wholeheartedly, then the facts that you're presenting, where you're pointing at objective reality, it's not going to count for anything. It doesn't even matter if you prove her wrong because the story reigns supreme. Reality is only useful if it reinforces her story. Otherwise, it's something to be ignored or attacked. That is especially true if she is emotionally invested in that story. And as we'll see, emotions are one of the biggest blocks that women experience to seeing reality. Let's take a look.
Why? Why can't I have that half?
Okay, here.
But why did you want to give me that to begin with?
It's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's
But
literally the
why-
same sandwich cut in half.
But why didn't you want to give me that one first?
I don't care which one you want. Here, you want this one? Take it.
No, I want that one now. Blaze!
What one you want now? It's the same fucking sandwich.
Never mind, I don't want anything.
Oh, brother, I feel for you. Okay, let's review the facts of reality. Both halves of the sandwich were identical. If she preferred a certain half, then he was happy to give it to her. You would think, given the reality of the situation, there is no possible way that she
You would think, you would hope, but no.
could feel discriminated against. There's no chance that she could feel victimized. They're identical choices and she can choose whichever one she wants. And yet, she found a way and he can't believe it. It makes no sense to him. But she's done it. She's found a way to feel wronged because she's not looking at reality. She's looking at her emotions. She feels overlooked, neglected, taken advantage of. And because her feelings are telling her that that's what's going on, that's as far as she looks. Let me state this as plainly as I possibly can. Emotions are not an adequate tool for judging reality.
Say it louder for the people in the back. Emotions are not real. They are not in reality. They are inside you. And no one else can feel them except you.
The two halves of the sandwich are identical. That is a fact. How you feel about those sandwich halves is completely irrelevant when it comes to determining the truth. Imagine
But my feelings matter. Some delusional person somewhere.
if, when scientists are doing experiments, they just threw out all the data they collected because it doesn't feel like it's correct. Then they would publish results based on what they emotionally felt was the truth. That would be completely ridiculous. If an engineer is constructing a bridge for cars to drive across, I do not want him consulting emotions while making his calculations. I want him consulting reality. But this is not an attack on emotions. No, I'm pro emotions. I'm an emotional guy. I answer questions like this on Hey Hero all the time. If your girl regulate work experiences, we laugh, we cry, we get pissed off. A lot of life's richness comes through our emotional experiences. We laugh, we cry, we get pissed off when we see injustice. That's all good. Emotions are amazing, but emotions are not a tool of cognition. Emotions cannot help you understand reality. So while it's fine to have a girlfriend who is emotional, that's fine, that's beautiful, that's feminine, and hopefully you generate happy and loving emotions inside of her. But it is a big red flag if you're ever dating a woman who says something along the lines of, I feel like this is true, therefore it is. That kind of rationalization is incredibly dangerous. And unfortunately, that emphasis on the supremacy of feeling is what's behind so many women's ideologies, which is another big block to reality. Let's take a look at a couple of women who cannot see reality outside of their ideology.
What are women better at than men?
Did you know that girls have bigger brain than boys? Actually.
Yeah, there's no way that's true.
Yeah, it's actually true.
Scientifically true. What are women better at than men?
Having kids.
What are men better at than women?
Nothing.
Nothing. Can't think of one thing. She just flipped me off as well. What the fuck? What are women better at than men?
Huh?
What are women better at than men?
Everything. Literally, we give birth, we have periods, we literally go through menstruation. We have to deal with men catcalling us, and I'm 15 and I've had men scream at me saying I'm sexy and shit. It's weird.
I wish I had women say I was sexy. I'd like that.
Huh?
I wish women told me I was sexy. I'd like that.
Sexy.
Thank you.
I love that guy so much. I find him so funny. But what you're witnessing in those clips is women's inability to see reality because they're so blocked off by their ideology. In particular, the ideology of modern feminism. The nature of an ideology is that you start with a preconceived notion of how things are. And if you are a committed ideologue, then you set about traveling through reality, taking note of all the facts that are going to support that ideology. And of course, you reject or argue against any evidence that undermines it. That's not considered a vice and sin if you're a committed ideologue. No, that kind of practice is being like a brave crusader. And it actually goes even deeper because if you've fully swallowed the Kool-Aid, then it gets to a point where you literally cannot see outside of your ideology. At that point, you cannot even see reality.
And don't we see that in society in 2024?
It's impossible. Taking the modern variant of feminism as our ideological example, if you consider the premises that men are trash, women are morally superior, we live in a patriarchy, women are exploited, men have it easy. When you're speaking to a woman who's completely committed to that ideology, do you see that reality and pointing to reality is going to be completely ineffective at changing her mind? It doesn't matter if you point out that more manual labor is done by men, that men are doing more dangerous jobs, that men commit.
They'll find a way to rationalize it in their head. They'll find a way to say that you're wrong because they feel like you're wrong.
Suicide more, that men are dying in wars, that men are struggling more with loneliness and isolation. It doesn't matter if you show graphs like this that show for decades that women have been outperforming men when it comes to college enrollments, or that after graduating, most employers actively discriminate against men and hire women. Do you see that none of that matters because she's not looking at reality, she's looking at her ideology. Now again, like emotions, I'm not demonizing all ideologies. They can serve a purpose. Some ideologies challenge your thinking, get you to reconsider your premises. They get you to look at reality in new ways, sometimes more accurate ways.
Yeah, but you should almost, use ideologies like different lenses, be able to see reality from a different angle through a different lens. But it's when you become obsessed with one and you only look through that lens that you become almost like those things that horses wear. You create tunnel vision. and you can't see anything else outside of that lens, that's when it becomes problematic and dangerous.
Ideologies can serve a purpose, but if you meet a woman who places adherence to an ideology above her adherence to reality, that is a big red flag. I hope that you understand that reality is not some luxury item, it's an absolute necessity. Reality stands as the arbiter of all disagreements between humans. You think this, I think this. We consult reality to decide who is right. Reality is the ultimate authority, and as such, reality must command your cognitive loyalty above anything else. You need to make sure that your girlfriend understands that, because otherwise, you're going to be lost in an endless sea of pointless arguments and fights. Let's say you do the dishes for an entire week, but then next week she says, you never help out in the kitchen. Now, if she's lost in a story that she's telling herself that she's some domestic slave that's getting exploited by the patriarchy, and she cares more about that story than reality, then you're screwed. Or let's say she's really emotional and she's like, crying and screaming, you never help out in the kitchen. Then again, if she believes that emotions are a valid tool for understanding reality, then you pointing to the facts is not going to help. Or if she's lost in an ideology that says that women are victims and men are exploiters, then again, there's nothing that you can do, because you're never going to be able to overcome that ideology by just doing more and more in reality. If that's her belief and she's committed to it, then you'll never be able to do enough. Again, let me state this as plainly as I possibly can so there's no way to misunderstand me. The only way to
They'll still find a way. The delusional ones, they'll still find a way. You can think you're being as clear as day, but they'll still find a way.
ever adequately resolve an argument with a woman is if it's resolved with reference to reality. You can listen to her story, you can show compassion to her emotions, and understanding for her ideology. All of that's fine so long as it is within the framework that says that reality reigns supreme. You need to be able to say that the truth is that I do help out in the kitchen. Last week, I did the dishes every single night. That is a fact of reality, and if she's able to hear that, she accepts that reality is the final arbiter of truth, then hold on to her, because even though it seems like the bare minimum, that quality is regrettably rare nowadays. That's true for both men and women. Too few people seem to have the courage to directly look at reality. Now, at the start of this
Absolute facts. Could not agree more.
video, I said that I was going to talk about the 4 blocks to reality: stories, emotions, ideologies, and the final one, faith. In my experience, talking about religion on this channel does not go well for me. Despite the very basis of my channel being on the science of evolution, evolutionary biology, and evolutionary psychology, people seem to constantly be surprised that I'm not a Christian. And every time I affirm my atheism on this channel, I get tons of emails the next day with people telling me to give my life over to Christ and like quoting scripture to me. I know that you guys mean well and that you're worried about the salvation of my soul. I get that. But truthfully, it does get a bit tiresome. I'm not here to criticize you if you're religious. Frankly, I'm impressed that you would subscribe to a channel like mine, you know, run by a godless heathen. I'm glad that you still get some value out of my content, even if we're coming from very different places. But I've decided for the YouTube version of this video that I just don't want to poke that bear. But if I'm being intellectually
Damn. I would have loved to have heard what he has to say.
honest, I do believe that faith is something that blocks you from seeing reality. And so I've put all of my thoughts about that topic into the Patreon version of this video.
I guess that comes into the point of ideology to a certain degree. When you're dealing with something like faith, I can understand what he's saying from the atheistic point of view. I completely, having been an atheist at a point in my life myself, like I can see exactly where his mind is at. However, I will challenge it with, if we're going to talk about faith in a similar way to ideology, where it's essentially a lens of reality, if you both subscribe to the same faith, then obviously you're looking through the same lens. So you're still going to be able to agree on what the objective truth of reality is. Let's say at least 9 times out of 10. And actually, I think the evidence suggests that that is true and that that's the case, because typically what you see is that people with religious marriages from all faiths, from all different religions, those marriages tend to work out way better than the marriages that aren't based in some kind of faith. I think a lot of that is to do with the fact that you're both looking through the same lens, so therefore you know that you both have at least very, very similar core values. At least you would hope. This is what I'm looking at from say looking to my parents' generation and the older generations. You can agree that you probably have similar traditions and values because of your faith. So chances are that relationship's going to do more successful than one where there's no faith, because that way you don't really know if they have the same traditions and values. But again, again, you know, there's exceptions to every rule, and I haven't actually heard his point. So yeah, definitely have to go check it out. Guys, if you want to hear the final point, if you're as intrigued as I am, definitely go check out Alexander Grace's Patreon. You can search him up on YouTube, and obviously you can find his Patreon as well. Go check it out. I'm intrigued. I want you guys to join in on this conversation because I'm very open in my thinking. So I can definitely see how one could form an argument to argue one way or the other, but I'm intrigued to know what you guys think as well. So let me know in the comment section below. If you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up on your way out, and be sure to subscribe to the channel to keep up to date with all of my videos. And I will see you very soon in the next one. Take care.